Yippee greetings! This is Aurora Rothschild Rockefeller with Statistics UFO Mother New Creation, and I have a late transmission for you all. So yesterday, after I left the space, then I stopped posting on YouTube and it goes to TikTok. Now, I went to Harris Teeter and I went back to my tent and I already posted how I document every item and I put it in the box. With tags, and to avoid everything to do with the Dark Cabal realm of the spider and the gun of Uriel. So I'm going to take everybody through, his logistics and his conditioning. So while he was, his father was my adoptive dad, right? So he had trained him already to shoot an eagle. And when I was in House of the Future, we had that eagle eternalized in, they call it sub-beer form. So they'll just get the bird and remove its insides and then put something like nail polish on it to make it just like stand there on a wooden pole. And it was on top of the piano and whatnot. Now, long story short, apparently, while he was seeing me, Steven decided that while we were staying together, they tried every possible experiment for me to depart from Unit 219 and run next door where Crystal was with Aaron, Lucifer. Or wherever Satan was, possibly also with Crystal, or Lucifer with Mio, or Lucifer, I don't know who he kept at that level. But I do know that at that level, Stephen had fallen in love with Mio and had given Mio this ring that he then gave me through Robai, their guy at Oaks 28. So he made a whole comprehensive map on how to trick me. Because they was trying every possible way, like say they'd do the spider tech on me, like I'm sleeping, they would come in with a spider, they would do the little bit of a little incision so that the blood comes out of my back because they bite me in the back, then the spider curls up, bites me, and then I get full of spider poison. And then at that level, Beaufort County Sheriff Office, this wasn't involved. They had nothing to do with it. He was U.S. Army, he wasn't a cop, and Aaron, he wasn't, I don't think, even a Beaufort County Sheriff officer. You were? Oh, he was. So I believe Aaron became a Beaufort County Sheriff officer since I called Beaufort County back from Los Angeles and I told them that I was looking for Steven because I was looking for my stuff, for my missing everything, my life. And I told them, what am I going to do? They're like, I think they told me. They're like, go to the yellow pages and call. So I called his parents. And they're like, this is Karen Thompson. Please leave a voicemail. I'm like, hi, ma'am. I used to date your son. Can I please know where my life is? Because we had a deal. And seemingly he broke it. And then I never heard back from them. And I tried, I think I tried to call the cops another time or whatever. But then at that level, I was in G2 with Forsyth. And then COVID started, and it was just a whole conundrum. Now, while I was dating Steven, he began a man cave on the balcony, and he got a firearm. He started to paint it. After we went to the gun range, me and him, because when we came back from the gun range, he had a girlfriend on the stairs, Dodi, something, in relation to the British Royals, that used to do a lot of drugs with him. And I wasn't involved in anything to do with drugs. I was just the goody-goody, all perfect girlfriend. I just stayed home. I cleaned. I just did my laptop, my YouTube. I had a website at that level. I had some sessions still calling me from my Shasta days. I still had some Shasta connections I was resolving. At that level, I was working on my side of the coin, on my things. I didn't know anything to do with Steven. I thought he honestly was, just like a southern boy, but he was from Manhattan or from Long Island. And I thought he didn't have very high levels of intelligence. I thought he was a practical retard that, was just a beautiful guy And I started to blame myself, like how, I'm on mission. I shouldn't waste my time dating somebody just because he's pretty when I have so many things to achieve. And, I had given him a surgery once on the couch, and he was very quick adaptogene. He like would take information very fast, but then he wouldn't show me intelligence. He would only show me a very stupid face at all times. He would always act very dumb. Now I'm understanding that they would come in, get me bit by the spider, then get me, eaten out, and then they would make babies out of me. So Steven impregnated Crystal at that level. And then they would try every morning when I got up to get me to run to the unit next door or to any other unit, or while Steven was at work, and I would do nothing. Because in my realm, I was trying to check like why my connection was so deep. Like, who is he to me? What's the matter with him? I was doing my work. I didn't know anything to do with them. And so when he started to paint that gun, he started to become even more deeper and darker and weirder. And I'm not sure what happened. One day there were people around the house, and he started to like carry guns and walk around the property and look out the window. And I was like, oh my God, like that's a little shady. And then I started to ask him, like, what's going on? And he would like scream and like get really triggered. If I asked him any question, he would get really angry. So then I started to think, okay, well, I'm not going to achieve anything through communication with him because he's obviously not willing or able to tell me anything. So either I'm going to have to go undercover and follow him around and see what's going to happen, go to his job and whatnot, or I'm going to have to like run away. So I tried for 1 minute to consider going after him at work, and I found like these very, insidious Arab looking broads with like big lips and big asses and big tits walking around. I'm like, oh, so if that's how he deals outside of me, I stand no chance, because I knew for myself that there would be no way for me to present myself to any person with a scalpel and put any collagen or cortisone in my body for any reason. And so I was like, okay, so the answer is get the fuck out. So I started to plan my exit very graciously without really having him notice, because I just didn't, he was very domineering. And I started to do my own methods until I was resolved enough to, once he came home with a walkie-talkie that said Lucifer Haley. So then I started to think, oh wow, apparently he's playing a parallel game behind my back at his work where he believes he's Lucifer. So I started to believe that maybe Steven believes he's Lucifer, and he wanted to play the Haley game, because then I started to think, oh, well, that's Justin and Haley, so maybe he's a lower life being that doesn't know anything about mission, that's trying to parallel like Hollywood with Hilton head douchebags. I'm like, oh my God, no. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. So with the little I knew then, I thought I knew enough to pack up what I could, because I had a lot of belongings. I didn't take my N400 copy. I didn't take my diplomas. I didn't take a lot of things, I left some artwork behind. I left a lot of clothing, everything. And then I took off. First, I went to Wexford. I went to Michael. Then I went back to Steven. Then I went back to Michael, then I took off, or something like that. No, then I took off straight from Steven, straight from Ocean Dunes. The first time I took off from Wexford. So that's when I saw like a vision of a brilliant being of the light, and I was shown that he would be in Florida for me. And that's when I, chose to go to Silver Springs, because a random other being from my past showed up and started to talk to me and invited me to go to Florida. So I thought, well, let's do it. Just let's see what's gonna happen. Now I understand that their plan at Ocean Dunes was for me to attempt to leave the unit, go in another unit, and see if I can see, say, like Lucifer or Satan or Jesus, my siblings. And if I don't see them, then I'll see someone living there. And then they'll say that I'm mad and a prostitute because Hordoba, obviously, since then was a prostitute, and Mayo, like Uriel's boyfriend from Eastwood College. So at that level, I wasn't even thinking to run and try the game of transformation. I was on mission and I had to, according to me and to how I left things off in Shasta, it was about, Michael had told me, Archangel Michael had told me to never marry anyone outside of mission. And he had told me to always give sessions no matter what. He told me never stop. He told me no matter what happens, do not ever stop giving sessions because that's the only thing that's going to save you. And he was right. I never ever stopped. I kept doing it. I never ever gave up. And that's why I don't date a lot or go with casual, like regular people, because of his guidance. He told me that, and I'm not going to go against it. So then I started to think to myself, okay, well, Steve doesn't really seem to be on mission or anything. He seems to be just like a lovely, hot Hilton Head clown. So I'm like, well, that's definitely not my aim this lifetime. So by the time I took off and I did the tour of the United States, clockwise, then I did it counterclockwise. I did it twice, going back to Hilton Head in the midst. And I was still investigating identity theft by the FBI. That's when, I started to notice oh, wow, something's really wrong with my life. I went to MacArthur Park and I showed them this green card that I still had. Now I'm all stolen. It has the date of the commencement of my permanent residence in the United States in 2011 in June. And then I entered the FBI office with it. They looked at me, they started to almost laugh. I'm like, huh? She's like, hey, an officer walks out. She's like, okay, listen, ma'am, I can't tell you anything. I just can tell you that when you leave my office, you are charged to investigate identity theft because that's what you're going through. She's like, this information is not your own. She's like, you are not Dima Tabrabi, October 6, 84, Beirut, Lebanon. I was like, oh, thank you. So I took off. She looked at her monitor. She's like, I have your information. I'm not going to tell you who you is. That's up to you. She says, you're responsible for that information, not me. I said, oh wow, thank you, ma'am. And then I started to go deep down. I went under every metro station. I started to talk. Besides the cop stations, I started to meet random agents and personnel. I started to hire people. I started to try to pay people for information from LA to Miami. And then many people in Los Angeles underground would tell me to go to Miami because I would get more information in Miami. Except it was COVID. So when I went to Miami, pretty much there was no cars driving around. There was no cabs, no Ubers to order. So I had to do the best I could with what I had. I was living with some people who drive golf carts there. And then, because there was no hostels or whatnot at that level. And then I lived with this Canadian person for a minute in this apartment complex next to Whole Foods in Miami. And then I went to Texas because Texas is grand for analysis. I went to Atlanta. I went to of course, now Utah, you don't find terrestrial information. You connect with other worldly beings because I'm working both sides. And then by the time now that I came back, I had absolutely no recollection, or it wasn't clicking in me about the gun and the situation going on until yesterday afternoon. I was outside on my tent patio, and all of a sudden I started to remember that gun and Steven painting the gun. And then I started to put two and two together. I'm like, oh, probably that's the gun that they're also obsessed about. From Paul Adams trying to tell me years ago by Starbucks. He says, excuse me, ma'am, can I please talk to you? Well, we found the purse that you were robbed of, and there was a firearm in there. What do you have to say about that? I was like, excuse me, officer, what are you talking about? He says, well, so we